Yeah, Frank, this was a stress test for the election system for sure. And to be clear, there were cracks that became visible yesterday that now before November must be addressed. When the decision was made in March to delay the Ohio primary, the initial date the governor and Secretary of State wanted was June 2nd. Secretary of State Frank LaRose telling News 5 at the time an earlier vote-by-mail-only election would be difficult.
The possibility of transforming Ohio's election system to exclusively vote-by-mail brings with it many logistical challenges. I worry that such a scenario would disenfranchise Ohioans.
Ultimately, though, the decision was not his, but the legislature's to make, and the April 28th date was chosen for a vote-by-mail only election, but an election carried out under the state's current rules that require a physical vote-by-mail application be filled out by hand, signed, and mailed in.
In an age where a lot of people are paying their bills by the internet and online, sending something by mail is a bit unusual and cumbersome. And then adding to that, of course, Postal Service has about tripled its time in getting things from point A to point B compared to their normal rate.
Meaning people who requested a ballot on time but didn't receive one had to vote provisionally at their boards of elections, which caused confusion and lines which the vote-by-mail process was supposed to avoid. State Democratic Party Chair David Pepper praised the effort, but
the legislature, I think, needs to come to an agreement, working with the Secretary of State Governor, on what the contingency plan looks like if we can't vote in person, and they should do it right away.
Currently, the 5 states in red, Washington, Oregon, Colorado, Utah, and Hawaii, hold entirely vote-by-mail elections. The difference is there is no application process. All registered voters are simply mailed a ballot. Secretary of State Frank LaRose tells News 5 he would be open to that.
Listen, this is something that would have to be a decision of the state legislature, the governor. I am perfectly willing to engage in that conversation. If they chose to do that, I can tell you that Ohio's boards of elections, Ohio's Secretary of State office would be ready to carry that out.
And here's the thing, based on the level of calls, David Pepper was saying into the state Democratic Party that there was such an emphasis on that June 2nd date in the first 48 hours after the primary was delayed that a lot of voters out there still thought they had another month to cast their vote. And that is kind of what led to that last-minute rush for those absentee ballots.
Right, and John, there were issues with the mail and people getting their ballot requests in by the Saturday deadline, but not getting a ballot. Did the Secretary of State say anything about that?
Yeah, he wants that deadline changed flat out. He said he has wanted to change for some time, called it simply unrealistic to think that they could turn around, the Board of Elections can, a ballot and get it out to voters and get it back that fast. He'd ideally like to see it a week before the general election. But again, these are decisions that are going to have to be made by the state legislature, not the Secretary of State.